against Golden Common, I guess.
All
OP.
right. Hey, and welcome everybody to Hearthcenter. We are back for week 4, and we have so much content to bring to you tonight. We're joined by an extra special guest as well. And without further ado, I'm just going to get started. Up first, as always, we have our hard carry. Don't ping him unless you're CMAC. It's the man with all the connections to my top left. It's Diamond. How you doing, Diamond?
I'm doing great. Thanks, Ron. How are you?
Doing well, man. Happy to be here as always. Just another Tuesday. That's why they call me Ronnie Tuesday. And below Diamond on your screen, he's an actor. He's a singer. He's married to the love of his life. That's right. I read your Twitter bio. It is the OG. It's THL Lemur. How you doing, Lemur?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you for checking out my Twitter, Ron. I super appreciate it.
Of
Always good
course.
to have another follower.
Of course.
Uh, yeah, thank you.
Awesome. I, of course, am your host, RonMexico, aka Ronnie Tuesday. We've got some fun stuff, and I'm super excited to bring you our new wild expert for tonight, joining us for the first time on Heart Center, fresh off of being robbed again on Saloon. He's our wild series guru and a man of multiple names. It's MartyB. How you doing, Marty?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Doing well, man. Just another Tuesday. We out here. And last
Nice.
up, I think Lotus joined us in time. We will see. But
I
last
did.
but not least, to our bottom right, please join me in welcoming back to the show THL's newest doctor. My man got COVID before his defense, and he still knocked it out of the park. It's LotusKnight. How you doing, Lotus?
Hey everyone, I'm doing good. I'm doing a lot better than most shaman players on ladder, so I can't complain.
Nice, nice. Absolutely. Well, we are just going to jump right into some players of the week for you guys. We've got a lot of really awesome stuff for players of the week. It was quite a thriller. It wasn't a 2 week long one, so a little bit faster pace this time. Let's start off top left, Diamond. If you can read off for me our legacy player of the week.
Thank
For
you, Ron.
sure. We got Tridu 2, who's the player of the week. They have one of the hottest starts you can have at 9-0 after 3 weeks of play. He's holding on the force of team tries, as well as they improved to 3-0 for the week, and the only undefeated team in the Red Conference. A win over THL veteran and fellow host THL Lemur last week earns him the player of the week this week, and that was by based.
Nice. Hey,
Yeah,
there you go.
he
You beat
played
Lemur, you
super
get on the
well.
show.
By the way, yeah, he apologized for my RNG after, which means you know he's a good guy.
Nice. You love to see it. Well, Lemur, why don't you tell us a little bit about the player of the week for Hero in this last week?
100% I will. So in Hero Series, we've got Nails. Nails was off to a rough start this season, but picked up a huge win this week by beating the commissioner himself, Arhat. Feed to Cthulhu might have still lost this week, but Nails is back to doing what they do best, finishing high legend on ladder. I mean, winning THL games. Look out for Nails the rest of the season as they look to turn it around and dominate the competition. And that was brought to you by Brushy Tuna.
Nice. All right, and I'll run us through our pro player of the week, which was Ray C. True to form this season,
Woo!
Ray C came through again for Cirque du Soul Fragment. This time, the last player to play with his team in a 12-8 hole. He took a sweep over Kalis Luna, aka Jimmy Eat Shoes, to secure a tie in the face of an otherwise certain defeat. Racy remains undefeated in pro this season, and as a teammate put it in his nomination, he's doing great with everything and anything he has going on. That nomination brought to you by yours truly. Next for Wild. Marty, do you have the notes in front of you? Can you read me our Wild Player of the Week?
So this is coming from Ducharmo. We have Catharsis for our Wild Player of the Week. He won a close 3-2 match along with the rest of his team, and this helped his team with a huge week, picking up 20 points after only getting 7 points in the first week. Moving them from last place to fourth place. It's just excellent work. Catharsis now sits in the 1 seed and looks like continuous carnage for the weeks to come.
Nice.
Looking forward to it.
And our final series player of the week from Battlegrounds. Lotus, can you read me off our BG's player of the week?
Sure. The BG's player of the week is Pocky. Nominated by Itachi, Pocky pulled a double first place in the second lobby to secure 20 points for Bob's Bounty Hunters, pushing them way ahead of the pack in this crazy series.
Yeah, that's insane. This guy, so
Yeah,
this is the double week of finals for Battlegrounds. I don't think you can kick it off any better than a double first place.
no,
Actually
That's
ridiculous.
ridiculous. Especially against the
That's
caliber of
true.
players still left in
Yeah.
the tournament that we're having for or tournament series for this. It's kind of ridiculous
Yeah.
that you can pull off a double first place still.
Absolute monster. So excited to see what Battlegrounds finals bring for us this weekend. But that's enough for our players of the week for now, and we'll get to Battlegrounds a little bit later. We'll start as we always do in recapping this last week's action with our hero meta report. So let's jump right into this one here, and as we can see, Paladin, Rogue, Shaman, Warrior still way up there in frequency. Everyone's been bringing Rogue, Shaman, Warrior pretty consistently, it seems. Paladin seems to have been the consensus for most series for the top brought one, sporting a pretty solid win rate overall. And look at these bans. Shaman's starting to drop. What do you think, guys? Lemur, why don't you start us off?
Yeah, I mean, this again, we had nerfs at the beginning of the season, and everyone knows that they have the nerfs that have just happened. So we could look at this in basically a vacuum of like the last 3 weeks since the first nerfs, and exactly what impact Shaman had on the meta. And the fact that it was in all four of the top brought lineups, it just tells you how much of a stranglehold it had, especially in the hero series. Looking at the statistics specifically, it seems that the idea was that you were either bringing the paladin, the warlock, or the priest in that fourth slot. The priest one, however, we can look at has a 0% win rate. That lineup did not win at all, meaning that the paladin
Brutal.
lineup and the rogue, rather the demon hunter lineup, had the highest win rates of pretty frequently brought, with 24 brings having a 54% win rate is very, very good. And 7 brings having a 57% win rate, still good going 4 and 3.
For sure. It never ceases to amuse me as the season goes on as well when we look at the overall bans and see like 38 for Demon Hunter. Demon Hunter got 0 last week. It barely gets brought anymore, but Hero did start pre-nerf for the Demon Hunter nerfs, so there are a ton of brings and bans in week 1, and that's just going to kind of like skew our data all season long a little bit.
Yeah.
But as always, this is THL meta. Take it with a grain of salt. We never have too much in the way of sample size, and these top 5 lineups are only 5 out of all the lineups that were brought, so there's still quite a bit of variation here.
Mm-hmm.
Any other things we want to say about the hero meta as it is maybe starting to settle in with this snapshot, but I don't know, could easily get upended again because of nerfs?
I think it will get upended again. I think just based off of statistics that we're seeing this week, early on after the nerfs, is that it has a pretty large impact that a lot of people were not thinking that it was going to have, with pretty small nerf on the side of Shaman. It dropped down quite a bit in win rates. So we might see some people deviate from it this week, or deviate their strategies to try to ban other classes in Hero.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, if I can add as we move on to Legacy, there's an interesting point you can see that says basically the same effect. That really, with the Shaman nerf, it lost a lot of strength in, especially when you're taking into account the closed deck list series. And what happened here was we had boosts of some interesting classes. Specifically, Demon Hunter had a huge boost in Legacy, and Paladin as well did fairly well, because these classes have good counters. The bans changed a bit, with the Rogue being a very big ban just because of the number of Paladins, and the strength of Shaman, which was a huge Rogue counter, falling a lot. Rogue did get nerfed, but it wasn't as big as people thought, I would say.
That's fair. Yeah. Rogue is currently, though, holding, I guess, the enemy #1 spot for last week in terms of bans. So we will see if that continues
Right.
as well.
Yeah, and that is a statistic that I think will probably stay pretty similar. The class lost
Yeah.
a 3-minute Edwin, but we could also see it move in the direction of Warrior or Paladin bans, depending on how it shakes out.
Could happen. And we know
Yeah.
mini set is coming soon, so more shakeups soon, TM.
Yeah, that's true. I think it will be an interesting week. I'm expecting to see this week a rise of Warlock because Zoo has amazing stats right now. HS Replay seems to be in love with Zoo. And a lot of legend players, I can name some, but I'll just say they're on their Twitter, they're a 4-letter THL player who did really well last year in
Nice.
Hearthstone as a whole.
All right.
And they climbed super well with it.
Yeah, No Hands also has a very popular zoo list
True.
that has taken off pretty well.
Awesome. Well, let's move on to last week in Hero, starting with the matches that were played. As always, Orange first. ATL stranglehold on the conference. This team has 80 points. They haven't lost a game. They got a dominant victory again. No logo change because ATL is just destroying Orange. I guess they took Orange's free to heart while the rest of the teams did not. We've got some contenders, really. You could say every other team is a contender for the second spot, but nobody's a contender for the top spot. So I gotta say, I'm really happy that Brushy Tuna's not here tonight, so he would just go off bragging like crazy about ATL. Diamond, why don't you run me through this first matchup, though? ATL versus Agua, 20-6. What's going on, man?
Agua got kind of raffle stomped here. So they had a sub, Valdez, come in. He lost in 5 games to Blue Spartan, and really everyone lost. It was a 23-point week for ATL. Scritch got swept, but then everyone else picked up points. MartyB, I guess, now is 4-up, but is the undefeated player. But everyone else is like nice symmetry they got going on at ATL. And yeah, they have a 32-point lead above Tonk, and there's 4 weeks left, so I don't know if they've locked yet. I'm not a math guy, but definitely Agua, along with the other members of Orange, have to pick up the pace.
Yeah, I mean, every conference, I believe, gets 2. The top 2 make it, and then it's 2 others from like the top point earners make playoffs that are not in the top 2 of their conference. So we've got a total of 8 playoff teams. I'd say it's pretty reasonable to think that ATL's basically already locked. It might not be a mathematical like certainty, but it's about as close as it gets. They are on bye finally this week, so we might see some teams actually try to overcome a bit.
It gives the rest of the conference a little bit of time to breathe, assess what's happening, and catch up in points.
Yep.
But it's really hard to see them dropping to third place and not even make playoffs. Like I think that's almost unheard of if it happens. Dropping from 80 points to not making playoffs here in this spot would absolutely flabbergast me. So I think we'll be seeing ATL in playoffs.
Pretty insane. Yeah, it's impossible for them to lose their top spot while they're on bye too, which is kind of ridiculous. So we'll move on to the next one here. Tonk, if you are corny, versus Dark Side of Cthulhu, a much closer matchup here, and Tonk getting some much needed points and a big win. Dark Side really struggling right now at the bottom of the conference, still looking to find a win. Leumer, run me through this matchup. What happened here?
Yeah, absolutely. So it was very close. I will say that it was very close. 16-11 is a pretty respectable score line. However, it was close because we saw, or it was so swayed in the side of Tonk if you're corny, because even in their losses this week, they took 2 threes. if you look at the losses that Always Just in Time and Skirt Reynolds had, they still lost 2-3, getting those 2 extra points for their teams. If those are sweeps, we see this week looking very different. Even if they're 3-1s, we see 2 points going off the board there. So Talk, if you are corny, really wanting to hold on to that second place spot, and I think they're in a pretty good position to do it as long as they can fend off the assault that's going to hopefully be coming from Servants of Yogg-Saron and Gung and Elsamon.
Yeah, definitely really big for Tonk that Servants of Yogg-Saron was on a bye this week to try to make up some ground and grab that second place spot. Servants, of course, playing next week. ATL on bye, so all the rest of the teams playing next week too. And Gungan Us Among, Dark Side of Cthulhu, there's still time, but that top spot looks pretty much taken. So it's really just a fight for second place or hopefully an at-large bid. We've only got 5 weeks left in Hero Series. We're already basically, at that midpoint of the season, so it starts to get crunch time already.
Yeah, definitely. Orange looking like second place is the thing that everyone's going to try to be aspiring for, and hopefully ATL can't lose that top spot. They'd have to suffer quite a few sweeps for that to happen in back-to-back weeks.
Oh, Justin's corrected me. 6 weeks left, 10-week season. My bad. Okay, a little bit more time. We're not quite halfway then. Thank you. All right, and then we will move on to purple from here. I'm more than happy to talk about my team winning, but if you want to run us through it, I don't want to lean on you too much for the series that aren't Pro and Wild, Marty, but if you have the information in front of you, do you want to run us through Vote of Some Confidence versus Feed of Cthulhu?
Yeah, I'd totally be down for it.
Sweet.
Can't promise it's going to be a great recap, but we'll go for it.
All good.
So this looks pretty standard. Feed of Cthulhu definitely had a plan in mind for them bringing the same lineup in Paladin, Rogue, Shaman, Warrior. It doesn't look like it paid off, really. You can see Vote of Some Confidence really decided to bring some varied lineups, but it worked out. Ron, it looks like you guys did very well. I see you won 3-1 against Hong Kong as well. And yeah, Feet of Cthulhu are just struggling right now. I don't really know where to go with them. Yeah, you guys are 4-0. But I still don't see why Feet of Cthulhu are struggling so hard either.
Yeah, I gotta say, I am a little bit surprised to see Feet of Cthulhu at the bottom of the standings right now. It looked like a very strong team to head into the season, and sometimes fluky things happen through 4 weeks. In fairness, one of they haven't played in one of those weeks. They did have a bye, and Vote of Some Confidence has a bye coming up next week. So naturally, my team was able to accrue more points than everyone else just by merit of playing more games. But Feet of Cthulhu is really looking up at the top of the standings right now and really need to turn it around quick.
Yeah, they really absolutely do. Being 0-3 in a season that's 10 weeks, right? 10-week season, is a very, I would know, trades for students are doing it as well. But
yeah, I'm gonna call on you for that one just to be mean today.
Yeah, very dire spot to be in. So catching up needs to start happening next week or the week after, or it's pretty much curtains.
Yeah. But here, as we can see, the overall snapshot of the conference, once again, Vote of Some Confidence keeping the top spot. Dad Legend pretty solidly holding on to the second place spot. And then we've got a bit of a fight between Tan Pams and Fair and Balanced for who might be able to grab an at-large bid or just stay in the hunt for the second. And with Vote of Some Confidence bye coming up, we might see some opportunities too for teams to jump ahead or at least really significantly close the gap. Speaking of Dad Legend and Tan Pams, they just played in quite a close matchup. Lotus, I know you had to take the week off, but your team came through. Can you tell me a little bit about this matchup here?
Yeah, my team, I took a break week because I took it from every series and show because I needed it. But my team got the insane Notorious GHP to continue his streak of throwing down JR.
Nice.
And that's what happened. Dead Legend. I think we have a strong team. I really like my team. We're all fun. We talk a lot, and I think they kept it going for my break week. Um, Ducharmo is an insane player. I don't get how he's so low PR in Legacy, and he's a great hero one seed. And I think this was a really tight match. Both of these teams right now, if you consider Votus some confidence being quite ahead, both of these teams are fighting hard for second place, and I think we're going to have it.
Yeah. Uh, it's still, of course, quite a bit of weeks left to play in the season, but Dad Legend in a pretty solid place right now with a reasonable lead over the two closest teams there. So, they're not on bye next week. They've got a good opportunity to try to continue that momentum, and we'll keep a close eye to see what happens in Purple as the weeks go on. Any other things to say about Purple before we move on to Teal?
Fair and Balanced and Tampams definitely still can catch up.
Yeah.
They just need to put their noses to the grindstone and get some game wins.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, sweet. So here it is. Teal Conference. We, for the first time all hero season, have a change in the top spot in the conference. The only reason we have a change, though, is because Ask HS was on a bye. No Pros here actually passed them with 8 points and a loss. So, I guess not the way you typically want to take the top spot, but it's a top spot nonetheless. No Pros here should be on bye this upcoming week, I believe, with 4 games played. Meaning that they're almost certainly losing that top spot, but enjoy it for this week. And then Ask HS, of course, still probably the the number one contender in this conference for that top spot, I believe. We'll see what they do in the next week coming off of their bye. But to start with this matchup here, No Pros here versus Dab on him. Diamond, tell me a little bit about NPH Dab on him.
Dab on him is dabbing back. They started like pretty not so well at the beginning, but something changed and a fire has been lit beneath them. They have 2 sweeps with Buse and Duin. Duin's lineup, kind of interesting, not gonna lie, but he has Hunter, so it makes sense why he won.
Oh, I think he was actually on record saying he accidentally submitted his wild classes for standard, and he's like, "Oops, all right, well, guess I gotta win with it."
I mean,
He did.
That makes a lot of sense looking at that line.
Yeah, there's a mage and a priest in there.
Yeah, Hunter, Mage,
Oscar-
Priest, Warlock.
Yep.
Sure.
Asuka not banning Duin's Hunter. Not sure about that one. I would always
Dangerous.
been,
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what Pasca was doing there.
I think he also called himself out for not doing that in the THL Discord. He's like, "Yeah, my bad. Didn't ban Duin's Hunter."
Yeah. And then the other 2 games actually go to 5 games each. Booze and Astrofrog winning, and then base winning or base losing. To Skittles was 4-0, so pretty good. And Dabonum is in the race, and this is a really close conference. Transfer students, sorry, Libra is a bit behind, but
Sure.
everyone else is 40 points plus, and it looks good.
Yeah. So, I gotta come to you. I gotta talk to you about what's going on here, Leumer. F2L Black 18-9, very big win over Transfer Students. Transfer Students now 0-3, 30 points, bottom of the conference. Team captain, tell me what's going on here. Walk me through this match.
All right, Ron. So first thing I got to tell you is we're biding our time. We're getting ready. We're waiting
Nice.
for our exact moment to strike. And you know what? That moment is coming pretty soon. So be careful, our opponents in the future. We're going to come for you, especially with these nerfs. Because I think what happened, to be completely honest with you, talking with a lot of the guys on the Transfer Students, none of us felt really comfortable with this Shaman high roll meta because we're all high skill cap players. Like we're all ready to just completely dominate the league from a skill perspective. Yeah. So
Hold on.
a meta that has shamans so in the forefront with these evolve mechanics was just it wasn't going to be for us. And even in the games where we ban shaman, somehow we get high rolled. I get it. So I think that moving forward, F2L Black, congrats on the win, super big win. Jester taking down his first win over Robobson is huge, over 100 PR underdog there, so that was awesome. Chronic gave me an absolute beating. So he played really, really well, I can say from first-hand experience. Kazargar also played well. I watched the VODs from him and Chaser. But yeah, just wait. This won't happen again. Now that Shaman is taking a little bit of a slap on the wrist, you'll see us again. Don't worry.
Strong words. I think Marty's got something to say though.
Yeah, I just gotta ask, when was getting Custodian in the mulligan so that you could play a turn 2 and then Lightning Bloom weapon turn 3 not high skill?
I don't know. The last thing that I heard
it.
was that the skill cap to that deck, if you got the cards you wanted in the mulligan, the skill cap to that deck got infinitely harder because you had to make sure that you played the cards in the correct order, which is very difficult for some people.
Nice.
Well, you
That's a
also
very
have
high
to make
skill cap
sure you
deck.
run second.
Sorry, say that again, Lotus.
You also had to make sure you were going second because you really
True.
wanted that.
That's big.
Smart,
So you could
smart.
coin for Lightning Bloom.
Yeah. Important to coin Bloom. Or bloom out the knuckles and then coin the hair. Yeah.
Of
Yeah.
course. Yeah.
You tell me you guys didn't go bloom on turn 1 and have a turn 2 knuckles? And then
Or like coin, bloom, hair, revolve. You guys don't do that? Come on.
come on.
Maybe you should just draw better.
And congratulations, gentlemen. We just found out every line that Evolved Shaman has. Let's move on to the next.
Yeah, but there's Teal for you as a snapshot. I love Diamond's point about dab on him. They started rocky, but this roster, I mean, it looks so insane. I think they're going to keep picking up momentum, and they're going to be a real threat for the top spot. No pros here, doing their typical thing. Just leading their conference in the regular season like usual. Although this looks a lot rockier for them. They are 2-2. That's not the NPH we've been used to in previous seasons. Ask HS on a tear, freshly rested. We'll see what they do next week. F2L picking up their big first win of the season. And of course, you heard it from the team captain himself. Look out, rest of Teal. Transfer Students is planning on getting a win one of these weeks.
Absolutely.
So, any other things we want to say about the Hero series before we move on to a special new segment, which involves player power rankings?
Yes, real
Oh.
quick. There is no more asterisk on No Pros here. I tried to give you guys it out,
True.
and you kind of
Yep.
shipped it away
Asterisk
this
is
week to dab
gone.
on
Yep.
them. So no more asterisk for you guys. I'm sorry.
Fair enough. Okay, so let's jump into the player power rankings. Brought to you by Donde. He did a blog post about this just recently, and we are going to make this a running segment for every series we can, and it starts in week 4. So we don't have week 4 in the books for any series except Hero for you. We'll put it up on the screen. That is your player power rankings as of week 4 of Hero Series. Starting with honorable mentions, Jim Philos, your mum Ked, myself, Brushy Tuna, and Desharmo, all right on the outskirts of your top 10 for player rankings.
Yeah.
And the rest of these, you may be wondering if you're not familiar, PAR. Stands for points above replacement, basically like taken from a baseball term that just kind of helps further quantify our reasons for why we have people ranked the way that we do.
Well, I'm just going to start this as I always do whenever we're doing Donde's flower rankings, saying that the system is rigged. Donde definitely hid votes, and there was definitely some information that was burned. This is all fake news, and I don't want any of you to even think about anything he does. Don't waste your time.
Nice.
Shout
Because
out.
I mean,
Donner's house this weekend, by the way.
I do frequently take issue with like undefeated players being ranked below players who have a loss, but overall, the rating system is the way it is. It takes into account a whole lot of things, and game score is also weighed pretty highly beyond just match win rate and score from that. We do though have quite a few undefeated players still. Just to shout them out first: Turtle, Skittles, Matty Ebbs, Mr. Python, Dr. Bomb D, Hockey Boys, and Dewin and Sharp, all with 3 or 4 O's in the case of Skittles. Really, really strong start. And look at Turtle right up there at the top, 9-1
Mhm.
in his game score. Unreal.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. Turtles killing it this season. Skittles also killing it this season. Obviously, all these players are doing fantastic, but I've been able to tune in or cast to a couple of Skittles matches, and I can say that he is on a tear. He's playing very well.
Oh yeah, yeah. He actually played last week right after the show on our Tuesday night bar fight against Base Think of all people as his final boss to reach 550 PR in Hero. I mean, the bar was set so high, and he played incredibly well and took that series down. It was impressive to watch. So, of course, it's a long season. So, all you hero players out there, there is more than enough time to try to get yourself onto this list. Donde can only crowd you out for so long if you keep winning. So, just take that to heart, and hopefully, we'll see some of you players who aren't on here yet join the list in the near future. Any other things on power rankings before we move to our next series to cover, which is Battlegrounds?
I just want to shout out to Skittles one more time because I've been calling Skittles the most insane player in THL for quite a while, and to see him finally blossoming is amazing.
Awesome. Oh, also, I almost forgot to mention Matty Ebbs is actually 4-0 too. I said Jess Skittles was the 4-0 player. Didn't even notice for a second, but Matty Ebbs also 4-0. Really impressive
Yeah.
starts to the season for both of them.
Hmm.
All right, and now I'm going to jump on over to Battlegrounds. We are in the finals. We've got our updated playoff standings for where the teams sit points-wise after your first week. There's 1 week remaining, just 2 lobbies to play, like one lobby with an A and B split, and that will decide your Battlegrounds champions. Currently, Bob's Bounty Hunters is holding a slim lead over Concede Your Match. We have a couple teams behind that need some pretty massive points, I think, to overcome the gap that started from this first week. But who better to break this down for us than the double third place winner himself from last week, Diamond 22, 2 third
Woohoo!
places. That's crazy, man. What happened to BG's this last week?
Thanks. Yeah, it was crazy. I definitely played in the in quotes easier lobby because the
Because
second
it
one
didn't have Pocky, yeah.
it didn't have
Yeah,
Pocky
any
Hop.
lobby without Pocky.
Yeah. So yeah, hard carried by Shep. He's in chat. It's very true because so game one, what happened was Shep at 8. Just to clarify, he DC'd. So then I was like, "Oh, Shep, you DC'd." He's like, "Yeah, I'm out." I was like, "Oh." So then he just co-opted with me the entire time.
Nice.
That's how I got the third place the first time. And the second time, it also was just him on his mobile phone being like, "All right, Diamond, go, go, go." And that's how we got the double third. So also to clarify, I know Bob's is very ahead now. On the very first match, they only had 17 points. They gained 35 points in one game in the B split. And
Oh
because
my
at the beginning, I was
God.
like, oh, okay, we got some points. Me and Shep are feeling good. And we were like up there. And then fucking Pocky comes in with 2 double firsts. Hopping there with the second and third, gains 35 points.
Yeah.
If you didn't see the VOD, Pocky was able to complete the Exodia comp, which is with the Scallywags. It's just a bunch of Scallywags that buffs your whole board, and then Baron. It's nonsense. You should really check it out.
That's
And then
awesome.
that comp is,
Yeah.
and then yeah, everything else in this round, definitely for the boys in Beat Stack. We got some work to do. It can happen. It can happen, but hopefully, Bob's Bounty Hunters can see your match, take yourself out, but. Yeah, I think this is going as people may have thought it was on predictions. Definitely, but it is always hard to predict BGs, but yeah,
Yeah.
that's kind of what I have to say about it.
You just got to say like massive props to Pocky and Happa Bear for just this unbelievably strong performance. Right when it looked like there was finally a crack in Bob's Bounty Hunter's armor, and they didn't even pick up all that many points in the A split for the Green Lobby. You know, they kind of were just middle of the road, maybe third place or something after that. But then, wow, just these two, Pocky and Bear, just absolutely dominant. Pocky, especially, obviously, with the double first, is totally insane. And let's not ignore how well Concede Your Match did. They were really consistently strong through 2 lobbies.
Yeah.
So there is a solid chance that Concede Your Match maybe can overtake them. As far as the other 2 teams in Meat Snack and For the Boys, they really have their work cut out for them. But you never know. Maybe just find a few right things at the right times. High roll every now and then, and you can take home a title too. So we'll see what happens. And stay tuned for what's coming. I think it's this Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern will be our finals for Battlegrounds.
It's Friday and Sunday. B. I don't know if
Oh,
it'll
right.
be locked
Split A
by
and Split
Friday.
B. Yeah, Split B
Yeah.
comes. So I guess the final is Sunday.
Yeah. So we'll see. Definitely tune in. I'm not sure. I know Steffi casted Sunday, but and Tuna, there's I think I don't know, some people, whoever cast the BGs, they did a really good job of it, and I'm kind of happy that Saku, like, shouts to him, they figured out a system, him and Tuna, to like go between screens, and it's like pretty seamless now.
Oh yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, definitely worth the watch. It's really fun to
The
just tune
production
in.
value is very high as well, which is awesome.
With Saku, how could it not be?
True.
All right. And then any other things before we move on to Wild, where we're in week 2 of Wild?
I hope Shep's internet's better. That's all I have to say.
Good luck, Shep. All right, so moving on over to Wild, here's our meta report. We start with the highest brought lineup as Mage, Priest, Warlock, Warrior, 11 times, pretty solid win rate, both in matches and games, 63 and 57 respectively. We're looking at Mage and Priest are the top enemies here for the Wild meta in the most banned classes last week. Marty, why don't you talk us through a little bit about what the Wild meta looks like right now in THL?
I actually have a little bit more information than you do on the screen,
Nice.
Ron. I have actually gone through the first 2 weeks what everyone has brought. Right now, the most popular deck is Reno Priest, the combo variant. No surprise there. Combo Reno Priest is very good, has a very high win rate. Can't confirm that. That's no news, or that isn't anything new to anyone. It was the same last season. Okay, Secret Mage was also performing well last season, so it's performing well once again. I'd say those two are probably some of the top performing decks, so it's no surprise to see them at the top. Secret Mage with 43 brings this week, Reno Priest with 50 brings. What's interesting though is that the third most popular class was Dark Lair Warlock, but Dark Lair wasn't really performing as well last week as you'd expect it. Okay, so it's not the worst, but it's not on the same level as those other classes, or those other archetypes, I should say. So something to keep an eye on. There's also the fact that Warrior was one of the big brings in terms of class brings overall. It was 4th, but none of the archetypes that were brought are in the top 5 in terms of decks. So you got Reno Priest, Secret Mage, Dark Lair Warlock, Odd Paladin, and Kingsbane Rogue. None of those are Warrior, but Warrior had the 4th highest representation, which is kind of crazy to think about. So there's still a lot of decks that I don't have enough to say anything on, so I can't give much more there. But I do want to say that there's a lot less memeing this season, and there's a lot of decks that seem to be very niche but viable. So
Players getting serious, huh?
yeah, we'll see how it shapes up.
Yeah, absolutely. I can also say that, like, looking at these statistics specifically, like Marty said, pretty much everyone has been like, if you're not bringing Priest, a lot of people would consider you throwing. In Wild right now, it's kind of the same thing if you're looking at the Mage, and Mage was doing well last season, but Secret Mage got so much more support with this latest expansion, with the introduction of the new Draw 3 secret. that you can play out in turn 1 on Secret Mage, and the statistics of you opening Cabal Lackey plus that card and then winning the game is just ridiculous.
Oh yeah,
So the deck can win out of nowhere,
nasty stuff.
which means that it's pretty much a must bring for a lot of people in their opinion.
Makes sense.
All right, I see a lot of Fs for Hunter. There were actually 4 Hunters brought.
Hey, Hunter's not dead. Let's go.
Yeah, three were Reno Hunters. The 4th was an even Reno Hunter from last week
Gotcha.
that was rolled over to week 2. So
Nice. And when we look at overall bans too, it's still just primarily Mage and Priest. But Warlock, interestingly, still looks like it's holding down 3rd place for, the class that draws the most hate, and Warrior in 4th. We'll see if anything changes with the mini set coming soon, if that might, I don't know, enable some new broken wild stuff. We'll see what comes in the next few weeks or so. Any other things about wild meta before we move on to the breakdown of Green Conference that was last week?
unfortunately, I don't think I have enough to say on any other deck, but over the coming weeks, I'll probably get a little bit more. So maybe by then, I'll have more to share.
Fair enough. Yeah. And I mean, as always, just kind of take it with a grain of salt. Like the meta snapshot that we show you, it's very limited THL data. The lineups at top, it's just the top 5 in frequency that were brought. So there's a lot more going on a lot of times than the snapshot will tell you. But this is about as much data as we have for you for now. But stay tuned, of course, in the future. With that said, let's move on to green. And we have still a leader in the conference in Everyone's a Winner. Last week, though, they were sharing the top spot with Made in Heaven. They have snatched the top spot completely for themselves, but only barely ahead of F2L Viridian by a single point. We're going to start by breaking down the game that put Everyone's a Winner up at the very top. Everyone's a Winner versus Patch's Payback, a 14-11 win. Leumer, can you break this one down for me here?
Yeah, absolutely. So it looks to be, again, very, very close match. 14-11 is nothing to snuff at. Having only a 3-point difference, it's very easily overcome on either side, as we saw with the Hero Series this week. Or I think it was Pro with Ray C, bringing it back to a tie from getting a sweep in a position like that. So 3 points is nothing to snuff at. Looking at the actual matches, looks like a lot of 3-1s, 1 sweep, 1-3-2. JJ, how many J's is that?
There's a lot of J's.
JJ.
Yeah, just
Absolute.
go with J or 6J. Either
Nice.
one
Yeah,
works.
6J. Okay. So 6J, absolute battle tagger, improving to 2-0 on the season. While Lefty on the other side has gone down 0-2. But it looks to be that Patch's Payback is performing pretty well. Everyone's a Winner just picked it out this week, got the stronger side of the coin and used it to propel themselves into the head of the conference with 1 point over F2 Viridian.
So,
Yeah, I'd put maybe Everyone's a Winner as like one of the odds-on favorites to win it all. Maybe F2L, given Itachi's comments from last week too. Go
Yeah.
ahead, Marty.
yeah, so like you said, I think it's between Everyone's a Winner, F2L, and Hey Loser. But beyond that, I want to focus on Everyone's a Winner because I know pretty much all of these guys, and I know for a fact that one of them is getting subbed permanently. I'm not sure who, but they're currently looking for a sub. So if they
Oh.
get the person they want, I can still see them winning it all, potentially. If somehow F2L doesn't win, of course, which is some weird fantasy.
Strong
don't know.
words from F2L's captain. Sure.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna win, but these guys will be like runners up or 3rd place, whatever. Point is, I don't know how this team is gonna look after this week. I don't know who's getting replaced and who they're going to have replace that player. So keep an eye on that.
Gotcha. Yeah, really,
It's going to be
really
very
relevant
interesting.
information. Very important to note, and we'll just have to keep an eye on it. And maybe we'll have some information during this week. Maybe it's going to take until next week before we get the info on what changes there. But with this team leading, their conference right now, it's hard to hear that they might actually have a shakeup. It could mess with the chemistry. Who knows? I guess we'll see. But
Never mind.
as you were speaking about F2L Viridian, why don't you tell us about the match that happened? F2L versus Made in Heaven, Marty, 17-7, and this was over a team that actually put up 23 points last week. What went down?
So before I do that, I should speak because this is like breaking news.
Ooh.
Everyone's winner does have a sub. They're covered. I just don't know who it is.
Ooh.
So we'll see how that goes. This
All
is
right,
like
nice.
literally, I just got the message. So
Nice.
Found
But
a
anyways,
sub. All right.
yes, they have
Awesome.
a
Yeah,
permanent
make
sub.
sure to update if you actually find out who it is during the show. Make sure to let us know. Otherwise, we'll probably
Yeah,
touch
let me
base
see
on
if I
it
can
later.
ask,
Go.
and I will mention it if I get a response after this. Oh, never mind. Oh, they are actually insane.
What?
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Well,
What?
I love this breaking news on the show.
I was
This is
gonna
awesome.
say,
I
yeah.
wish I had
I
a
don't
graphic
know.
for it.
I don't know who
Breaking
is
news.
getting subbed out, but they have Hazer. And I believe Hazer is still rank 1 right now.
Seems
Nice.
decent.
Hazer is a very good wild player. He worked on the Versus reports for a little bit, I believe.
Okay.
He streams occasionally.
So basically,
Uh,
everyone's a winner will not, in fact, miss a beat. Good to know.
oh, they are very good. That is a very scary team. Hazer is nuts.
Yeah. Let's just go ahead and sub somebody out for rank 1 legend. No big deal. Okay, cool. Good job, guys.
Yeah.
All right,
So,
so Marty, I think you were telling us about how F2L Viridian was going to win the whole thing. Still as confident. Let's break down this matchup though. What's going on with
yeah.
the match?
So Korb and Itachi just came in, made it look very easy for the start of the week. Double sweeps. We were feeling great. Targeted the Odd Paladin, targeted the Dark Lair Warlock a little bit. Felt really good. Okay. I went in, I figured I can't bring Odd Warrior. So I gotta bring something else. Because if I bring Odd Warrior, then they're gonna catch on and realize that we're all bringing Odd Warrior, which means they won't bring Paladin and Mage. Or Odd Paladin and Secret Mage. So I went with a meme pick. I brought my own version of ETC and Rage Warrior. Pretty sure I'm the only one that plays it, but it's the only one that got a win for me. It was the first one. Then my priest got high rolled by Paladin. We don't talk about the rest. It was not fun.
Solid.
But anyways, Neji came through and so did Rotted. And everyone carried my ass. And they're all really good. So that's the thing with this team. Whenever one person slips up, everyone else carries.
Nice.
It's insane. So I have no doubt. Even with everyone's a winner, not missing a beat, I still think we're gonna pull through and win it all.
Naturally. What more would you expect from the team captain? You got to believe in your team. You love to hear it. I gotta say, looking at Green Conference, one other thing that really jumps out to me right now is Patch's Payback getting 29 points with a crazy hard schedule so far. Like they're deep in the red in that AOS with 21. So that would be kind of an interesting one to keep an eye on. There are still at-large bids that can make it besides just the top 3 in each conference. So even though Green could be pretty tough, I could definitely see Patch's Payback making their way into playoffs, given their solid performance with a brutal schedule so far. I'm very interested to follow this as well as the season goes along.
Yeah, for sure.
Any other things we want to say about Green Conference before we switch on over to Brown?
Don't think so.
All right, I know Leumer's excited to switch over to Brown Conference because there's a certain team here that is still maintaining the #1 spot in their conference and the #1 overall points in all of Wild. There are 4 teams up at the very top, and Marty mentioned 3 of those teams as contenders. But the top point earner, currently not mentioned in Marty's title conversation here. I don't have the match on the screen, Leumer, because apparently all they do is win so far. But just because I'm also kind of worried that Caesar Cheese is going to drop out soon. So floor is yours right now, Leumer. Let's talk about your team real quick.
All right. So, first of all, let me just say that the 5 people that are brought together for Seas of Cheese are 5 of the most relaxed people I have ever met in my entire life, which works out very, very well with the Seas of Cheese persona. We talk. We talk to each other, but it's very casual, very flippant, and yet we still are on a rampage in this Brown Conference. Nobody can stop us. The Seas of Cheese are on a tear. Hey, loser 2-0. All right, come on. Face us and you'll be 2-1. It's going to happen. All I'm going to say is everybody who's saying, oh, Seas of Cheese were a meme pick this last season and the season before, made playoffs last season, by the way, it is an upward tick. We started at the bottom and now we're here.
Nice. All right, and now I'm probably going to have to cut Leumer's mic as we move on to the rest of them. Marty, can you talk me through Hey Loser versus Anoyo team? I had to give him the floor since I wasn't covering his team this week, and they are at the top of the conference. But there were some pretty interesting matchups here. And Hey Loser Anoyo team 15-13. Tell me what happened in this match.
I gotta say, Memnarch versus Duin, I'm so glad that was on stream. That is a marquee matchup right there.
Oh, I actually got to cast it. It was pretty fun. It turned out to mainly just be Memnarch going full beatdown mode with a lot of aggressive decks and just doing everything he could to try to keep up. The one game he won was a massive N'Zoth Kartut Defender taunt wall. The rest was just Memnarch hit him in the face too much.
The only way this could have been more peak Memnarch versus Duin was if Memnarch brought Galakron Warrior.
Nice.
So, but yeah, they were just doing what they did best, and the rest of this matchup was definitely really close. A lot of 3-2s in here. Base taking over for Rami against Batmassa. Taking down Bat is no easy feat. Bat is a very good player, though he does like his Odd Warrior, we'll say. So, Clone also doing well. Skittles being solid, no surprise there. And Roni struggling a little bit, but I think he'll get there. I know he is kind of new to the wild scene, I believe. He's a friend of Rami's, so we'll see if he can turn it around soon, but I think he can, especially with Memnarch at the helm, basically. Pasca team always does well. There's no way these players don't succeed.
Nice. All right, and then the last match that we have to cover for you for Brown for this week on the screen, Mad Scientist versus Bash Bros 2, Electric Boogaloo. Diamond, talk to me about this one here. Looks a little bit closer than the score indicates. I feel like this one could have gone either way.
Yeah, so let's see. Catharsis got the 3-2 over Nubinator. Mr. Python lost 3-2 to number 3, my old player. Reggie got a 3-2 as well. Let's see, Rice Bull won, he's in chat. He won over Tomato. And then
Former
3-0.
teammates too, I think. Rice Bowl and Tomato. I think they were teammates last season.
Oh, nice. Yeah, definitely interesting. Sorry, I don't know much about Wild besides
Oh, you're fine.
Priest is good, Mage good, and Warrior good. But yeah, it looks like Mad Scientist picking up some points from last week, recovering. Bash Bros 2 Electric Boogaloo. I know they have the melee reference in their logo, but they're struggling. Hopefully they pick it up. I know Reverb's pretty solid, so should be good.
Got a fan due to the logo. Love to hear it. That rounds out Brown Conference for now. We've got, of course, Seas of Cheese still holding the top spot. Hey Loser fairly close behind. Anoyo team just a slight tick behind them. Mad Scientist, of course, getting that big win. Twitch.tv/MTG Succulent is now picking up a win for the first time this week, which could be big for them and their obvious captain's name recognition. And then, finally we have Ghosts of Fell Screams at the very bottom, still looking for a victory. It's still a long season, but once again, once those leads start to expand, like Seas of Cheese and the gap between them and Ghosts of Fell Screams, it's already, you kind of have the screws turned, and you need to try to find wins and fast, because Seasons can get away from you just like that.
Can I please make a petition to have every time we say the name twitch.tv/MTG Succulent to either say it very fast like an auctioneer or like have it brought up very close to our mouths like twitch.tv /FTG Succulent, so that we can really give him the proper recognition that he deserves for such a fantastic team name.
Noted. Petition
Gladly
under
do that.
consideration.
You can do that every time, Lemur. I'm
Yeah.
not doing that.
Yeah, no, I got you every time.
And speaking of auctioneer, this does round out our Brown Conference. This concludes Wild that was last week, but we're going to switch on over to the caster screen here for you guys because we have a little bit of a commercial break before we jump in to our Legacy and Pro series and bring you some highlights. Starting off, as always, with our rapid fire commercial. Let's just jump into it. Hey there, Twitch viewers. If you've subscribed to Team Hearth Legends yet, no, then make today the day to be a legend yourself and subscribe to our channel. This subscription will enable the THL team to help cover the various costs of operating our website as well as improve the quality of our streams and content to our viewers. If you have Amazon Prime or Twitch Prime, you can actually subscribe to this channel for free. Subscribers will get a THL emoticon as well as the lovely THL chat badge. So hit that heart button and keep the notifications on to make sure you catch our team broadcasting live. We appreciate each and every one of you. Special note to our viewers, check out THL's other social media points of interest, our website, teamhearthlegends.com. Follow us on Twitter at THL_HS. Join us on Discord at Team Hearth Legends. Check out the THL POW podcast for power rankings for all series wherever you find your podcast. The true Hearth Legends himself, Saku, continues to post all of our videos on our YouTube channel. Just search for Team Hearth Legends to catch everything previously recorded. You're, of course, watching us on our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Team Hearth Legends, or possibly on our YouTube channel in the future. And for all you THL fanatics out there, we have THL shows for you every single day of the week. You can't go wrong tuning in at any time for some amazing Hearthstone-related content. Now back to the good part. All right, and that is our commercial.
Great commercial once again.
You know, we got a lot to cover, so we got to go fast. Speedy, zoom. And we're going straight on from this into the Legacy Meta Report. Before we do, of course, please consider throwing us that subscription. I see German Shep coming in with the Prime sub. Thank you so much. We appreciate the support. And let's transition on over. This is Legacy. Lotus, I remember you wanted to say a little bit about our Legacy report earlier on when we were starting the show talking about Hero. Looking at the same thing, Paladin, Rogue, Shaman, Warrior up at the top. We got a ton of Rogue bans in Legacy, especially this last week. Talk to me about the Legacy meta right now.
Yeah, it's a very similar meta to what happened in Hero. I just want to note Demon Hunter had a pretty good presence in Legacy and was part of the best lineup. So
Fancy.
not as bad as many hoped it would have been. It's still a class.
Wise
and
words.
I think
Still a class. Still an option.
yeah,
It exists
And I
in the game.
it is in the game, and the results are quite impressive, I would say, especially in the nerf where Shaman isn't blocking Soul and other Demon Hunters as much. This is quite the meta for Demon Hunter. And Warlock, just expect a lot of Warlock starting this week.
Yeah, I can definitely see that coming. There's going to be probably a rise in the zoo population for Warlock, and let's not
Stop
forget.
giving away our trade secrets.
Let's not forget about Galakron and Ticketus Warlock, which is still kicking around as well and has some game. But really, we're just seeing a whole lot of the same big three: Rogue, Shaman, Warrior, Paladin being up at the top. And really, as long as you're bringing Rogue, Shaman, Warrior, it seemed lately, you've had a good shot at getting some victories. Players are also just pretty heavily banning those three classes as well. Warrior had a big uptick in bans this last week, but overall, it's still heavily just Rogue and Shaman. With these last nerfs, maybe expect to see Rogue being the most banned in our overall in the near future.
I think there's going to be quite the decrease in Shaman bans because before the nerf, Shaman ban was just so common, and now I think we're going to see a lot less, and because of that, we're going to see a lot more Warrior bans and a lot more Rogue bans coming up.
Yeah, absolutely makes sense. And, of course, we are all just kind of waiting with bated breath to see what is going to be in the mini set. Very excited to see how that's going to change our meta as well.
When's the mini
Well,
sets also
yeah.
the thing?
When is the
maybe
mini
they'll
set?
Can they even give Standard more Secret Mage support at this time without completely breaking Wild?
Yeah, probably
They
not.
can.
No.
They actually can.
Oh well,
Yeah,
I'm
they
gonna
can.
defer to Marty on this one.
So,
I believe what Marty says when it comes to Wild.
so
True.
all you gotta do is make slightly weaker reprints that Wild Secret Mage doesn't want. So things like the 2/3 that they printed, that doesn't get run in Wild Secret Mage because it's just not good for compared to the rest of that deck. Like, why would you ever run that over Archaeologist or Mad Scientist?
Well, that makes
You know,
sense.
you don't even run the 3-mana 2/2. So there are ways to print cards to make Secret Mage a thing in Standard without absolutely breaking it in Wild.
Could we
And the
have
truth
like
is, the only reason why
explosive runes 2.0 where it does like 4 damage instead of 6?
It's just almost that.
really, I just want Rid Fair Game gone.
Yeah,
It's not so much to ask.
understandable
That
take.
that is one of, I think, the worst possible cards that they could have printed for Wild meta.
Yeah,
It's not
For
even just
Standard, it's
Wild.
still
You run it
fun.
in. You run it in every single Mage deck, in my opinion, in Standard. There's no reason not to run it. Like even Cyclone
Standard?
Mage, yeah, in Standard. Like Cyclone Mage is a meme. You don't talk about Cyclone Mage, but any other Mage deck, yeah,
Highlander
you
mage.
want it in that deck because that is insane draw.
yeah,
And you can get that
Insane
draw for
draw.
free.
Yeah.
You
I
get
mean,
that draw
Mage
for
certainly
free.
needs the help right now because it is really struggling in across pretty much
And
all our series except for Wild. When it comes to Standard, it's just rough.
Mage is going to struggle in any sort of burn centric meta, especially without 1-drops right now. If it can get a few 1-drops, then maybe it can do better so it can fight the board early and live past that burn. But until then, you either need some sort of life gain or you're going to be struggling.
Yep.
And Ice
Need
Barrier
life
is just
game,
too bad.
otherwise they're on life support. Any last things? Sorry, you were saying something, Lotus?
Oh, I was just saying that Ice Barrier is not enough health gain.
Yeah,
It's just, it's good, but far from what Mage needs.
absolutely. So let's jump on into our first recap of the week for Legacy. We're going to start off with Gold Conference here, and we've got Foolish Madmen with a dominant lead in Gold right now. Just absolutely on a tear, undefeated, highest points in, I believe, all of Legacy. Um, we're not highlighting their match this week because there were some really close ones in Gold. But just to start off, Diamond, tell me a little bit about Foolish Madmen. What's going on with this team?
They're just kind of doing really well. Me myself, not doing the greatest on the team, but I'm glad that especially shout out to Automated Bun. He's 3-0 along with Justin right now. He's adjusted really well. And just everyone. And Molstar, shout out to Molstar. Darter had the sub out for 2 weeks. Molstar comes in, went 2-0. Probably the best sub we could have gone. You know, top 5 legend player. Seems good.
Nice.
And
Yeah.
also Jimbo last week won as well. So just everyone, like they already know each other because they're all from Northeastern, and I was like volunteer coach in Northeastern last semester, so I already knew them. There's a really good chemistry we got going there. But yeah,
All right.
that's
Yeah.
fair.
Hanging on to that top spot, still getting the logo there in the top left for Gold as of right now. We'll see if that can continue for next week. F2L Red also not being highlighted in their matchup this week, but pretty close behind Foolish Madmen, angling to maybe find an opening to take that top spot and get their logo up there. But to go through these matchups that we saw, we'll start here with Lotus, if you can walk me through Always Top Deck Lethal versus Pod People. This one was super close.
This one was super close. It's not the same ATL we're seeing in Hero, but Legacy ATL showing their strength against Spot People, a team that did quite well last season. Nails just hit the nail in the head against
Oh, it's
Hat.
the Lotus Fun of the Week.
Yep. And brought his hat down with a really strong 3-0
Still
result.
going. Nice.
Zeroshio came back with a 3-1, and Wicked Good also 3-1, trying to keep that for Pod People, but then the last two seeds went 3-2. So quite the close match. ATL showing it's a strong team, and putting itself back in the menu since, well, they were okay in the bottom half of the squad for gold last time, and now they've climbed quite a bit.
Nice. Yeah. Big win for ATL, but a lot of points picked up from Pod People. And for those of you who are familiar with what Pod People's typical seasons look like in THL, it often winds up start slow, finish super strong. So always a team to watch out for. Next up, we have Golden Common versus Defias Brotherhood. Golden Common BTW versus Defias Brotherhood. Another very close one. Golden Common pulled out, I think, a 14-11 victory last week, too. So this team, they keep winning, but by small margins. Leumer, can you tell me a little bit about this matchup here? What went down between these two teams?
Yeah, so we have a story on two different stories here. So we've got the 3-0s that Snakefod, Agent PWE, and Wild9 are currently sitting on, which obviously is a fantastic start for them. However, we've got a lot of varying records between 2-1 and 1-2 on both sides here. Blue Sombrero struggling a little bit to get his footing, which is a little bit surprising to me. Blue is a very, very good Hearthstone player and is performing well in other series. So going to a 1-2 start is very surprising to me, as well as Comp going 1-2, falling to Posca this week. Posca, obviously a fantastic player, but Comp traditionally a very, very good player as well. So I think Defias Brotherhood just needs to find their footing a little bit, and it didn't happen this week against Golden Commons. They definitely brought it out and earned that 2-point victory with almost all 3-1s, the only 3-2 being PWE versus Blue.
For sure. Yeah, and Defias, they are at least, kind of hanging in the race. 12 points is pretty important, especially when you aren't able to bring home that victory. Just to round out the rest of Gold Conference, of course, Foolish Madmen, F2L Red, Golden Common, BTW are three top teams there in the 50-plus range. ATL fairly close behind. Defias Brotherhood still hanging in the race. Pod People, as we mentioned, always a dark horse. And unfortunately for Stubbs of Prey and standard THL Degenerates, they're having a really rocky start. So those 0-3s are really tough to come back from. These two teams need to find a victory quickly, or they're going to find themselves on the outside looking in come playoff time.
Yeah, same thing with Pop People starting the 03. Even though they're a quantified name with us, that starting 03 is very, very rough.
Yeah, true. Giving them a little bit of credit for their history and the fact that they have
Absolutely.
a bit more points, but also dangerous to start off that way.
For sure. Important to note as well that in the Golden Common, by the way, versus Defias Brotherhood matchup, Defias Brotherhood brought 4 Paladins, and Golden Common, by the way, brought 3 Demon Hunters. So they were all pretty set in their game plan going into it.
Nice. Yeah. Alternate viewpoints for sure. And with that, we will move on to Red. I had a little bit of a debate before, wondering how do I say the name of this team? Is it Tries? Is it Trees? Is it Tris? Well, turns out all I had to do was have them take first place in the conference and look at their logo. It's pretty well spelled out for us there. It's Team Trees.
Team Trees.
And there they go, top spot in Red Conference with a really close win over Swallows That Follows. Lotus, can you take me through this one here? A 13-12. It really doesn't get closer than that.
Yeah, the Swallows, we like really tight matches, so we decided to do it 2 weeks in a row. And this was a really crazy match. I wasn't there again. Avi beat Karate Dom 3-0. Heat Shock, who was my sub, beat Black Swan 3-1. But then Bill ran into a bit of trouble, losing 2-3. Leumer can talk more about his match.
Yeah.
And Killer Reeves ended up losing 2-3. So we got pretty close. It was such a tight match. But Team Trees doing just a really good job.
Yeah, very strong looking team in their rookie season of THL.
Yeah, for sure.
Leumer, anything you want to say about that match, or should we just move right on?
I touched on it a little bit earlier. When my opponent messages me and apologizes about my RNG during the series,
Yep.
Yeah, it could get a little bit rough, but very, very well played to Trito. Trito played super, super well in this series, closed it out. I just wish I could have gotten one game. I was very close to the three games to squeaking it out, but couldn't pull it out.
Fair enough.
Which means that the tie did not happen.
And then, without further ado, yes, Justin, not good teams indeed. Prep is for Rogues. We had some hype going into the season. It's not really panning out great for us right now. Diamond, why don't you tell me a little bit about what your perspective on my team's, additional loss looks like here, 12-14 to Ticketus Punchers.
Yeah, I want to be honest. I didn't think this would go that way for you guys. Maybe Hunter's just the nuts with Ticketus Punchers.
Man, they
Getting
smorked us down. It was
They-
it was rough. There was a lot of face hunter action going on. We got our faces punched in. I gotta give respect, because I love that they did that. But I wish that they hadn't steamrolled my team. Oh well.
Absolutely. Real quick, by the way, Hickett subscribed with Prime in chat. Thank you so much for the sub.
Oh, awesome. Thank you for the support. Appreciate you.
But don't worry, the duo Abuse and Ron, the shining light of this week, with a 3-0 by Ron, sending him to 2-1, and then Minnie and Nicholas are also winless. It's very interesting that they won, but they have, I guess, Joltix carrying the 5, it seems like, but they have 2 0-3 players, and I guess Irvin in the 1.
Yeah, Shaman still seems to be in a pretty good spot too. I watched the replay of Saku's game against Joltzy, and oh my god, the Shaman for Saku's opponent there was just super nasty. I think Saku died on like turn 4 or 5. It was nuts. Sometimes it does crazy things.
Sometimes.
Yep. And then, of course, just to round out the rest of Red Conference for you, Dirty Mike and the boys was holding the top spot. They lost it this week, but they still have quite a few points up at the top there. Swallows the Follows in the close loss stays very nicely in contention. Murgle Reborn started off really brutally early in the season with a low point loss, but they are on a tear right now. I believe it's Murgle versus Prep next week, which should be interesting. Sir Finley Squires picking up a big win to make up some of their points. They just had another like brutal loss. You can see them barely behind Prep in the standings, even though 2-1 compared to 1-2. Ticketus Punchers getting a much needed victory there. And Chaos Theory, I don't know what it is about Isocles' team. They always seem good and they always seem cursed. So hopefully they can break that curse and start to grab some victories. Because they definitely, I feel like they're a good team. They're just on the cusp. And with that, we will move on to Silver, unless there's anything anyone else wants to say about Red.
Nope, good to go.
So Silver on the screen here. We have a tie for the leader in the conference. We've got Meme Dream Team sharing the top spot with Flame Pimps. Meme Dream Team was your conference leader 2 weeks ago. Hot Zilfs took that spot from them last week, and then they played each other in a Battle of the Titans, and Meme Dream Team came out on top. So let's see. Lotus, can you talk to me a little bit about Meme Dream Team here?
Sure. The Zilfs have been such a crazy team for quite a few seasons, and Mean Dream Team just coming with Clone and Easy Bake, who were known players, but I don't think any of the others were THL players before. And just showing up and doing really well against the insane squad. Easy Bake beat Cole 3-2. Clone beat Jammies 3-1. Donde stole a win out of interval 3-2. Amphal winning 3-0, and Jim Philos losing 1-3 against Well Played. So it's a strong match. Mean Dingchun taking some points out means it just puts them in a really good spot because this is a really strong team. And Silver Conference has this really interesting effect where you have 4 teams that just done really, really high number of points, and this was one of the first main encounters between them.
Yeah. It's really interesting to see the breakdown. We've got, playoff contenders really looking to separate themselves in this conference with a top 4 pretty clearly set right now, and then a bottom 4 that are struggling. I know you haven't done too much when it comes to Legacy, Marty, but on this next one here, if you could walk me through Flame Pimps versus Anoyo team, this team feels like super underrated to me, even at undefeated. I haven't heard their name mentioned enough, and I'm not familiar enough with them yet, but they're on fire. What's going on with Flame Pimps here, Marty?
Yeah, looking at this team, I don't see how they're so underrated by people. Having Reggie at the 1 seed, that's always going to net you a few wins. Taco Cat is solid. Goose in the 3 is very surprising. Goose has been very good in pro. No surprise that he's being so successful in the 3 seed here. Bullion, decent player there for the 4 seed. And then they have someone new in the 5 seed, I believe, correct?
I haven't heard that. Do we have more patented Marty B breaking news? I'm excited.
No. I just have not recognized this
Oh,
player before.
oh, okay, yeah,
Yes, I believe that this is one of, if not their first season.
Yes.
awesome.
Now, the big surprise, though, in my opinion, is Doohan being 1 and 2. That is the biggest shocker. Doohan did bring up a good point, though. He prefers Hero because he can just play the class that he's comfortable with just the entire time instead of having to switch up his classes.
True.
So it kind of makes sense, but still, also seeing the 1 seed in Z at 0-3 always hurts. You need your 1 seeds to perform. They need to be able to at least hold a 50% record. That's what's expected out of 1 seed, and he's just not pulling it right now. And until they get more leadership from the top, I don't think they're going to stick around.
Yeah, unfortunately for an Oyo team, they are at the bottom of the standings. They've got a pretty hard strength of schedule so far, but a lot of points to make up. As we mentioned, Meme Dream Team, Flame Pimps, Dad Legend, Hot Zilfs, all holding a really solid amount of points in contention. And Hearthstone Academy, probably the most like marquee name we have here that's still in the hunt at 1 and 2 with a solid amount of points, but they need to make up some ground. Amber Flight Gaming and Illidan's Death Knights, two teams that I think were pretty close to playoffs last season. Illidan's Death Knights missing it just by the smallest of margins. Having rocky starts to this season too, and in a conference like this, time runs out quick. So hopefully those teams might be able to turn it around shortly. That will wrap up Legacy for us for this last week, unless there's anything anyone else wants to say about Legacy before we jump into the Pro Meta Report, our last segment of the week.
Don't think so.
Sweet. So let's throw Pro up there on the screen. Marty, I know you were telling me a little bit about some of the Pro Meta that you had been working on. I still see a common theme here. Paladin, Rogue, Shaman, Warrior, the most frequently brought lineup in Legacy, in Hero, now in Pro. We've got a ton of bans for Rogue, Shaman, Warrior. Again, what's going on here with this meta?
All right, so I can break this down by archetypes once again, because I have no life and I went through everyone's deck lists and their results.
Nice, what a guy.
Yeah, so we see a lot of shaman brings. The vast majority were evolved shamans, no surprise there. Rogue is led by World Kick, followed by Secret. It's mostly 3 World Kicks to 1 Secret Rogue. That's how they're split. You have Warrior as the 3rd class, which is very split among archetypes. They're all over the place. And then Paladin is the 4th most popular bring, just as you said. Right after Paladin, it's Demon Hunter and Priest. Warlock is a little further behind, and then Hunter, Mage, and Druid are just barely hanging around. So since there were nerfs, I don't really want to go into how lineups are. I think it's more important to mention how certain archetypes did before the nerfs. I think that's what would be most interesting. So, to no one's surprise, Rogue was just good. You could bring World Kick or Secret Rogue. Both were insane. Okay. I don't think I really had enough data to say if one was better over the other, but both were just way up there. If you didn't bring it, you were throwing. Shaman
Fair.
was the same thing. You have to bring one or you're throwing. Shaman was nuts. People would try to counter it. didn't work. It was very difficult to counter because Lightning Bloom is a card. And Lightning Bloom makes it very difficult to steal that weapon.
True.
So if you're not bringing Evolved Shaman, you are making a mistake. Warrior, very popular, very diverse. Turns out there is one, or was one correct warrior to bring, and that was ETC Warrior. ETC Warrior was the only warrior with a positive win rate, and it was actually much higher than most other archetypes. So really, you wanted to bring Evolved Shaman, ETC Warrior, some variant of Miracle Rogue. Okay, now we get to the fourth deck. The fourth deck is the most interesting part. There was none. Okay, I didn't have any sort of deck that stood out as the fourth best deck, meaning you could bring your deck of choice. For most people, that was Paladin, but Paladin was very middling. It was about 50% win rate in terms of matchups. Pen Paladin was not as insane as it might seem based on the popularity. There were a few bait brings. Galakron Warlock was definitely banned a bit too often, in my opinion. The win rate didn't suggest that it should have been banned as often, so that was bait. Priest was somewhat middling too, slightly below Paladin maybe, but you could go with Priest if you wanted to, just because you liked him more than Paladin. Mage, Hunter, Druid, there's not much there to really say. Demon Hunter was underwhelming overall. Every single archetype was underwhelming in my opinion, according to the very little data I had. And there may have been a unicorn, but there wasn't enough data to say for any of these decks whether they could have stood up to the other archetypes that were at the top.
Nice. I appreciate the
Yeah.
breakdown. That was awesome and very thorough.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
will say
it-
with the priest rings, I was talking to a couple of different pro players this week, and a lot of players that were ended up bringing the priest was very much because they assumed their opponent was going to bring paladin as the fourth deck, and to just try to get out and ahead of that paladin, they decided to put the priest in their lineup for this week because, like you said, there's not really a great fourth deck. Paladin was the one that a lot of people assumed was going to be brought alongside warlock.
Seems
Yeah,
reasonable.
I do want to mention, unfortunately, this is not something I'm going to be able to do every single week. This was something I did strictly because like nerfs happen
Oh
and
yeah,
the
fair
meta
enough.
is
We'll
very
we'll
much
take it where
changing.
we can get it. No big deal.
Yeah.
Expected.
So, but if I do have anything interesting in terms of like population and classes getting or archetypes getting more popular or just disappearing overall, yeah, I'll happily mention it.
Awesome. We'll always
Yeah.
appreciate it. And with that, we'll jump into Black Conference to kick off the week that was for Pro. We have a new leader at the top of the conference for Pro. It is your defending champions. It's Hype Horizon taking a very close win over, a winless team actually, but a team that definitely played quite well against them. To lead off this segment here, can you break down for me Hype Horizon versus Glockgora? Lotus, talk to me about what happened in this matchup here.
Sure. This was such a tight match. Hype Horizon, they came out of last season kind of as an unbeatable team. And they're keeping the trend alive, but Glockgora got really close. Snake Fox, who won the tournament Ron was participating in, won 3-2 against Cool Kid. McBannerface lost 2-3 against Sakanawat, and then Hype Horizon did what Hype Horizon does, and their insane 3-4 and 5 won their games. Just a really strong showing, especially because they all won 3-2, so this made it so tight. But in the end, just these super tight matches had to go somewhere, and Hype Horizon ended up getting through.
Yeah. Unfortunately for Glockgora, they came pretty close. Props to Snake Fods. I've been really impressed with how he's been playing lately. Our community
Yeah.
champion, who took down that tournament recently, and he's just playing really good Hearthstone, but not quite enough to overcome the monster that is Hype Horizon. The team with the target on their back for sure, and very excited to see how they play next week. We'll get to recap it. It's Aeon, undefeated Aeon, who had the top spot and only lost it because they were on a bye, who plays against Hype Horizon to see who is going to get that first loss of the season between these top contenders.
Something to add here is that Glagora, literally 2/3 of their points were against High Horizon, which is
Yeah,
scary. Maybe
yeah,
they're
that's
getting their
surprising.
yeah, maybe they're getting their act together and now they're going to do super well. But it is so scary to think that 2/3 of the points of this team, which they did only play 2 matches, but 2/3 of the points come against one of the strongest teams in
Yeah.
THL right now.
Their other match, by the way, was against Aeon, and they've also had a bye. So this team has had the absolute hardest road out of every single team. So even though they're at the very bottom of the standings for Black Conference, do not count them
Right.
out. I could definitely see them turning things around and becoming contenders.
Yeah,
That's
important to
cool.
note as well, I think, is that every single match going to 5, literally one game going a different way changes the complete outcome of
Yep.
this.
Yep.
Like
Good point.
it was actually down to one game, which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
So Glagora definitely is looking like they could be doing things after this week.
All right, and then next up we have For the Boys versus Illini Esports. Diamond, you know I was going to come to you to talk about For the Boys. This is a big win, and this team, they were right up at the top all season last season, and nothing's really changed so far. They're number 2 in the conference. Big win. Walk me through this matchup here.
So there's an interesting thing we've noticed so far with For the Boys when we've won. Either Dabs carries us and he wins, or Dabs loses and everyone else wins. So that was the latter. Dabs
Nice.
lost early and everyone was like, damn, Dabs lost. But then everyone else just decided to win. I think last week I talked about how Illini Esports needed to, or it was a rude awakening being the Black Conference and facing like all these top teams. And I don't want to sound cocky, but they had to play my team. It didn't go so well for them. And yeah, oh yeah, and Shep brought really weird stuff, and I'm glad he won because if he didn't, he wasted a lot of dust in making those decks, but he got there in the end.
Nice.
So shout out Shep and his Gala lock, which I think he was missing Ticketus and something else, or
Yeah,
just
I
Ticketus.
think
But
I think I
like,
saw him hyping Galalock in the chat earlier.
mhm.
Nice.
But for sure, Illini can compete as we like with Glockgora. There are two Tespa teams. Like Glockgora, it's less obvious, I guess, but I'm pretty sure everyone has played or is from Tespa because I think Sakana and Kyrix, or maybe it's Peanuts. I know Sakana goes to UCLA with Molestar, so obviously good there. And Milo, Nice Jewish Owl, is like the main person of what's it called, Temple University, and I don't know where Snake Fods goes, but I think he says as well. And then obviously you have the Illinois esports gang with Tridu, and he's winning in pro legacy, but struggling in pro because there is a bit of a difference now.
Yeah. I
So
mean, pro definitely the skill levels very, very high. And just to round out the
Diamond.
rest of that Black Conference, we've got, Hype Horizon For the Boys, Aeon, all three up at the top. Cirque du Soul Fragment, we mentioned them in our Player of the Week segment to kick off the show. A big tie to really lock up some crucial points. Yasharaj Clown College just slightly behind them. Bad to the bone with a rocky start to the season, but finally picking up some big wins and points. The two Swagoi teams very close to each other. My team, the unknown, remaining mostly unknown for now, but finally picking up a win, which, hey, we got that going for us, so that's cool. And of course, Illini Esports and Glockgora bringing up the rear in the conference, but we've had some buys already early in this season for some of the teams that are trailing in points. It is a long season, but Black Conference being what it is, you got to get points. You got to get them quick, or things are going to get out of hand fast.
Diamond, I
so
just bet 18K channel points on that, so you
I
better
bet
win this
I
week.
bet 20K channel points.
Yeah.
That's good. Just
Fancy,
what
yeah. We got
speaking
the
of
So
points,
you better
I,
win this week.
I put all of my channel points into us winning this week.
the For
So
the Boys prediction. Well, there's quite a few on the For the Boys side, so it'll be exciting
I
to recap next week.
not
I need to
sure.
log in and pick Fog No so I can get a ton of points so I can help myself in Saloon next week.
Nice. All right,
Let's
and
see.
that is all we have for Black Conference. We are down to our final series, final conference, and who else could be the leader but Popeye's spicy chicken sandwich? The best names I've ever seen. It's fantastic. This team is just monstrous. I didn't even put their match on the highlight of the week this week because at this point I just expect them to continue to win. So we are going to start with No Pros here versus Corrupted Clown Fiesta. Leumer, talk to me about this matchup here. What went down between these two teams?
Yeah, so Skittles did what Skittles doesn't usually do and ended up losing in a sweep fashion to Itachi. Itachi pulled it out mega heavy with a sweep over Skittles, which is unexpected. But luckily for Skittles, Base Posca and Agent PWE decided that they were just going to, carry the week for him. Went ahead and got wins in all of their matches. Ked unfortunately falling to Wengar, but a strong showing from No Pros here. Not really strong enough when you look at this conference, though. They definitely wanted more points from this one, and they didn't get it. Only getting 14-10 victory over Corrupted Clown Fiesta, who is trying to keep themselves in contention, but they'll need some pretty high point weeks in the coming weeks.
Awesome. Yeah, these teams, they're hanging in there. Pink is a little bit seemingly like easier, if we could say, as far as the conference and the overall strength as it first appeared. But I wouldn't go too far on that because there's a ton of really strong teams in Pink. So it's going to be a tight race for playoffs as well in this conference. Speaking of teams that are in the tight race, we had a really, really close matchup too. Lotus, can you break down for me Due Process versus F2L? Another one that just gets as close as possible. This is, I think, our second 13-12 highlighted match that we had on the show tonight.
Yeah, this was an insane match. I'm very happy for Due Process. I think this team is due for some quite high rankings really soon. But Due Process just really good job versus F2L in a super hot match. Goose beating Snake 3-1, Rice Bowl 3-1 against Ariana 20, Mr. Python 0-3 against Wabbit, Dr. Bombed 3-2 against, I do not know how to say this, Shay Magician or however it is.
I think it's Shay Magician, yeah.
Shay Magician, okay. And Bullion losing to Berserk 1-3. So it's just a really strong showing by Due Process and getting through by literally a single measly point, which is important. Even though everyone is saying that Pink is not as strong as Black, there's still a lot going on here.
Yeah, and that extra 3 for winning can absolutely be huge. Oh my god, I love this. I love this new prediction. But just to round out like the rest of Pink Conference right now, we have a very clear leader in Popeye's Spicy Chicken Sandwich, kind of just separating themselves from the pack. Tap Washers pretty close behind. Due Process right behind them. Faction, one of our new teams, picking up a good amount of points early, followed by, of course, NPH, F2L, and then you get to the teams that need to start picking up some momentum really fast. Clown Fiesta, Poem Locked and Loaded, and Attack Mode, and Sheepies. Sorry, the last one I couldn't actually read on. What's below Corrupted Clown Fiesta?
Sushi Rats.
Sushi Rats. Sushi Rats, the other team. So, I mean, we've had some buys too for some of these teams that are lower in the standings. Again, a long season, and we might start seeing a little bit of shift in the standings when it comes to those top teams getting buys to allow the other teams to overtake them. But that is your snapshot of Pink Conference as it stands right now.
Yep.
Any last things to say about our Pro Series before we do our final segment of the show on our caster screen? Again, we're going to go over our RNG card of the week and, of course, have a little highlight for you from a THL stream from the week that was.
Saku, I better get my channel points back.
Nice. All right, so let's move it on over. Back to the caster screen. Here we are. Wanted to talk a little bit about some highlights from the last week. Lotus, I know you had a few notes that you were taking about it. Tell me a little bit about what you noticed from the last week in THL.
Sure. So I think the first thing we need to talk about, and we mentioned this before, let's talk about Battlegrounds. We're in final weeks, and there was an amazing game where I think Pocky made a really cool Rivendare pirate build. And it's just so much fun when that works. And it completely crushed it on the first game on Sunday. It's just so powerful and so amazing to see those little pirates going everywhere out of your scallywags. That was just amazing.
Oh yeah, nice.
That was just such a great, um, such a great moment.
And as far as some of the things we saw on stream, we've got a highlight for you for just a fantastic play. It came to you from, I believe this was Legacy. Is that? No, no, it was Hero. Yeah, it was Hero. It was my Hero teammate. So it came from Hero. Sometimes with 5 series, I get it mixed up every now and then. It came from you from the Hero series, a match between Heat Shock and FBM2 Reggie playing, and just watch what happens here with a pretty wild play.
Clear.
Yeah.
The 3-1.
They're off.
Wait, what?
How? Which way is he rotating?
I'm absolutely confused right now. Oh, he's gonna kill Barrow.
Oh, he's gonna hit the bear off. Wow, and he takes the stealth minion. Huh. Good job, Heat Shock.
Oh, wow. Clear.
Yeah.
So there you have it. That was so fun to watch. A really creative and fancy play by Heatshock there, getting the full clear by giving his opponent his Barov and then hitting into it, taking the stealth minion as well, on the way to a super close victory. If you noticed, I think his health was at 2 or 1 right at the
Yeah,
end
it
of
was
that.
2.
Still could have died to a top deck, but fortunately for him, Reggie's next top deck was a backstab, and Heatshock went on to stabilize.
That's the definition.
Mhm.
Just playing to your outs, right? And finding spots. Just don't concede.
Yes.
Absolutely. And then the last thing we have for you, of course, is our RNG card of the week. Tell me what it was, Lotus.
Sure. So the RNG card of the week, it has to come for Battlegrounds this time. And if we're talking Battlegrounds, RNG card that's just deciding everything in so many matches, gotta be a Malgadon.
Oh,
That
God.
card and its randomness, just so insane. It was a crazy player in the end of Ghost versus Jump Float on Friday, and in so many of the BG's game matches this week that you cannot give this huge minion the RNG card of the week.
It does have the word
Yeah.
random in the card text.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yes.
Like, you want to get the poison and divine shield. And I've seen some people post like highlights of, I can't believe
Yeah.
I didn't get it. I got like 12 adapts and I missed. And that's just a
Pretty much.
feels bad moment.
Pretty much a Malgadon just reads, "Did you get poison?" Good.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was one of the in one of the cases there were 2 golden Amalgadons. So
Ooh.
I recommend watching that. They were really huge.
Yeah. But that is it. That is our show for you this week. Thank you again, everybody who tuned in. Really had a ton of stuff to cover. Went a little bit longer than we usually plan. I try to shoot for an hour and a half. We went about hour and 40 minutes tonight with the PPR segment. We are going to have a change though with Battlegrounds soon being phased out, so might get closer to that time limit. But for now, this wraps things up for us. I'm going to start up at the top again for final words. Diamond, take it away.
Yeah, so if you want to be featured in clip of the week or you had an interesting moment, feel free, send it to anyone on the stream right now. And also with the RNG card of the week, if you see some sort of weird RNG moment, just send it to us. We obviously pick what we can. We go through the VODs, but if there's something that we miss, obviously, feel free to send it to us. And yeah, excited to see cover BG finals, make sure you watch that because it'll be fun.
Awesome. Perfect. Thank you, Diamond. Lemur, go ahead. Final words.
Great time on the show as always. Had a phenomenal time with you guys. Thank you, Marty, for joining us. We're hoping to see you back here. Yeah, great show.
Yeah, hype for the time that Marty finally stops being disenfranchised is going to be great. But yeah, go ahead, Marty. Take it away. Final words.
Yeah, I really appreciate being brought on. I'm really looking forward to being around more often now, and I'm glad I was able to share a lot of that information. I've been kind of holding that for a while, and it's just nice to like get it out there, show people, hey, this is what was working, this is what wasn't, because now that information doesn't matter anymore, and it's just really nice to give a new perspective on different things. So
Yeah, awesome. Definitely much appreciated too. Loved having you on the show and hope to see more of you soon. And finally, well, I'll actually close out for us with some upcoming shows for next week to tune into. But finally, for our panelists, of course, Dr. LotusKnight, final words for us here.
Glad to be back in THL. This is going to be a crazy week. There's so many good matches. Saku has lined up some insane Thursday, Friday, and Sunday content for you all. Schoolstone has 5 matches set right now. If you would like to be on stream Saturday at either 2 or 5 p.m., you can hit me or NHL or Fish up. But otherwise, we have quite the content for you. Just a little bit of a note on some of the matches that we have. Saturday, we're going to have Dardar versus Hat and Molestar versus Snake Pod. And Sunday, we have Rebop versus BWE, Saku versus Shu, and Base versus Berserk. So super excited for that.
Base
Nice.
versus Berserk is going to be fantastic.
Oh yeah, that's insane. We got a really good lineup of matches then.
Yeah.
Excited to see what happens and excited to recap it next Tuesday for all of you right here at this same place and time. I of course am RonMexico, your host. Please stay tuned for future upcoming amazing Hearthstone related content. We have Tavern Talk coming to you tomorrow, 9 p.m. We have Thursday Throwdown. Of course, on Thursday with some matches to cast. We've got Friday night fights on Friday. We have Salty Saturday for you with more matches being cast, as well as Schoolstone on Saturday and on Sunday. We're going to follow that up, coming back around to start the next week with Around the Saloon for another episode. We'll see if Isocles can continue to defend his crown on the Monday show. And of course, rounding it back out, Hearthcenter on Tuesday. We appreciate you guys so much. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you have a great night, and we will see you all next time. Take care.
See you guys.
Later.